What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It is P-Dog Shayu, aka Peyton, aka P-Dog Vlogs here. Those are too many names. Okay, I didn't post this video anywhere near the amount of time I wanted to, but I am going to be doing that now. So, this is my full guide on how I passed the Disney College Program Professional Interview for Spring 2019, and I hope that any of the tips that I can give you here will end up helping you too. So let's just kind of get into it. So you've passed your initial application, you've passed your web-based interview, now you've scheduled your phone interview. Now, depending on how early you have gotten to your, or how early you have finished your web-based interview will decide how early you can do your phone interview. Now, it has no bearing, as far as we know, on what time and date you plan your phone interview. But think about it logically. Would you really want to be the interviewer that has to, or the recruiter that has to answer the phones at 10:30 at night, or on a Sunday, or think logically, when's the best time that they're going to be in the best mood? And you honestly really can't plan for that, but I thought about it, and I did like the first day that they did them as early in the morning as possible. So that way I would be kind of like they'd been waiting all season to talk to some new kids, and then just boom, there I am. And so that's kind of how I got into mine. That's how I picked my date. So when you, before you even get on the phone, you're probably gonna print out your resume that you sent in, like your application information with the jobs you've done, the responsibilities, and the skills. You're gonna want to print all that out. You're gonna want to print out the top roles that you did. I printed mine right here. Print out the ones that you were interested in, moderately interested in, and not interested in it at all. And then you can keep referencing that, so that way you know kind of what to tell them that you want to do. You don't want to go out and say like, I want to be attractions. Well, you could, but like it just, I don't know, it doesn't seems a little bit too forward for me. But you could be talking about how you work better in a team versus being by yourself, which could maybe tell them, hey, I want to work attractions more than I would want to work maybe custodial, because custodial is a very isolated role versus attractions where you're working directly with a team to make a couple $100 million attraction or $10 million attraction work. So that could kind of, using those words can help you and by referring back to your interests. And then you're going to want to probably print out a couple answers to some questions if you know that you choke up a lot when you start talking. Like, I tend to do that sometimes. If I'll get on a tangent and just kind of forget what I'm talking about, and I'll need some stuff to help me get back on track. So you're going to want to write down some answers to some questions that you may not remember while you're in there. You might just blank and have no idea. For me, I put down emergencies I've handled because I didn't want to get there and she'd be like, oh, what emergencies have you handled? And I have no clue. So what I did was I made sure to write those down. And you can do this for any other questions. You can go on Google and look up phone interview questions that other people have had in the past. There's a big database of them, like 235 questions or something crazy that everybody's gotten. And you'll want to type all that out, just that way if you have a tendency to forget stuff, you have it there on hand and you don't blank in the middle of your interview and have that like embarrassing moment. And then lastly, you're going to want to write down some questions to ask your interviewer. It just shows that you care. It shows you care when you finish up that interview, that you weren't just kind of waiting through the interview, just kind of chilling back and relaxing. You were engaged and actively thinking, because they're going to tell you at the end of the interview to ask some questions. And the questions I put down, just, you can feel free to, if you want to try to use these, or if you want to come up with your own, use these as a jumping off point, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to give you guys what I did. Is there anything I did well or could improve on for future interviews? I asked that question because it's pretty much saying without saying, how did I do on the interview? Because then they're going to tell you, oh, well, you did really well, or, oh, this could use some work. And then you kind of have a gauge on how they felt about the interview without just saying, how did I do? Because if you get just so, how did I do? Then, I mean, that's kind of obvious, and they're gonna be like, oh, so they want the, you feel me. The second one that I asked was, can you extend during a spring program? I knew the answer to this one, but I wanted to ask it because me asking that question makes me shows that I want to be there longer. if you don't want to be there longer, you're gonna have, or you might not even want to use this question, but if you want to be Spring Advantage and you put down Spring and Spring Advantage because you want to get in, you just want to get in, I would recommend asking that question because it shows, okay, I would do this, I'm willing to do the Spring program, but I would really like to do the Spring Advantage. And that my last question was kind of, I really like this question. It's kind of, because it's a fun one, but it's also like a real question. Is there a possibility that Spring Advantage could be working in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the new Star Wars land they're going to be opening in Hollywood Studios? And because I was attractions or quick service or characters or character attendants, all of those are going to be working in the new Galaxy's Edge, and I love Star Wars, so I wanted to ask that just to kind of put my foot out there saying, hey, if that's available, I'd love to work at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Just saying, hit me up. So yeah, that is everything you're going to need for your notes. And you probably will want to either tape these up, or if you have somewhere like a long, or like you have a big open floor, I would recommend just kind of laying them out, because you don't want to be moving around the papers a whole lot, because then they'll hear you have notes, and maybe they won't care, but maybe they will. So you just don't want to mess up like that. You just make it all uniform. You want to be as professional as possible in this interview. When they call you, they're going to call you from a phone number that is either blocked or unblocked. Now, it's really random how that happens, because typically it's caller ID blocked, but when I got it, it was not caller ID blocked. And that's just so that if you miss the call, that you can't call them back, they have to call you. Did you guys hear that car out there? When they call you, you are going to either get it unblocked or unblocked. And that does not really matter, but just keep your eyes open for that. Make sure you don't have any numbers blocked on your phone that could have been them. And you might have blocked phone numbers blocked without even knowing it. If you go into your phone settings, go to the blocked numbers, and if there is just 0 or 00000 or 11111 blocked on your contacts, you want to delete that one, so that way if you, because that's kind of like the phone code for how to block blocked numbers. As much as I know, that's like, I'm not like a tech professional, I'm just kind of enough to be dangerous, but as far as I know, that's how that works. So just make sure that you don't have any of those blocked. The second you pick up, they're gonna go, hi, is this so-and-so? And you'll be like, yeah, this is so-and-so. And then they'll be, hi, my recruiter's name was Tammy. Hi, I'm Tammy from the Disney College Program. How are you doing today? And you're gonna wanna immediately take that name, write it down, and then repeat back, hi, Tammy, I'm Peyton. Nice to meet you. I'm doing great. How are you? And then they know, oh, okay, they're gonna, if we're both on a first name basis now, that kind of like makes a relationship automatically. They teach you that when you work retail, that you want to use the person that you're trying to sell to's first name, so that way you can create a relationship, so it's harder for them to, like, because you don't want to make somebody that you have a relationship with upset, right? You don't want to make a friend upset. So when you use those first names, it automatically kind of builds that relationship, and it's not just a interview anymore, it's a conversation. And then they're going to ask you a bunch of personal information, like where you go to school. They're just going to double check all that information you put on your application to double check everything's good there. And then they're going to get into talking about all of your... They're going to get into talking about your resumes, and then they're going to start asking you some questions, or your resume, and they're going to start asking you some questions. So what they did was they asked me a little bit about, like, where I worked, and then they asked me some questions about, they were like, okay, so let's say you work at a ride and these people have been waiting, and then all of a sudden the ride breaks down and they have to go home like right then. What do you do? And those are the type of questions where I hadn't prepared for that at all. I didn't prepare for that, so you just kind of have to think of stuff on the fly. But they're going to ask you, they're going to throw some oddball questions at you, and you need to be ready to hit them out of the park instead of knuckleball it, you know what I mean? And yeah, lastly, you really just want to make a good impression. Oh, wait, remember to keep the smile up, and don't fall into like just kind of, yeah, I worked there, it was really fun. Like, you see how boring that is, you hear how boring that is. Don't be that boring. You are very interesting as a person. Everybody is interesting as a person, regardless of if you live in your house and eat saltines for 20 years of your life. or if you go and free rock climb in the desert with your dog that's also a horse. Like, everybody has something interesting about them, and it's all in the way that you talk about it. Like, look at this. I'm standing around a bunch of old video games. How cool is that, right? You have something that's cool about you, and you have to make that show through when you're talking to somebody on the phone, and that's really the best advice I can give you. So make sure to, if you guys are new here, make sure to please leave a like. It really does help me out, and make sure to subscribe, because I am going to be filming like a mini documentary kind of series when I'm down there. And please subscribe, because they just took all my subscribers away. They took like 5 of my subscribers away for the new thing that YouTube just did, where they pulled all the inactive subscribers. So I went from like 158 to 153. So like, help a brother out. I appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good one.